Eggy, Tom Hitchcock, how are you?
I'm good, Tom. How are you?
See, look at the difference in body language. You're smiling, you're happy, you forgot it's Monday, and Eggy makes all the difference.
It does. It does. So we were talking about this before. I loved when I first met you, it was Mr. Purple. And I was like, oh, I love that. I should really go by Eggy. Everyone knows me by Eggy. The only people that call me Emmanuel is at work, really. So, but yeah.
You know what? It's got to the point, and I take this the right way. I actually forget your name, so if I need to quickly check, I'm like, oh, what is Eggy's name again?
It's a good thing. It means I mean, it's always fun when you got something different. You know what I mean? People remember you by, because how many people do we meet on a daily basis? Like, we're always out there checking in. There's so many people in this industry. I always apologize to them because I can't remember everyone's name. It's so tough because my brain doesn't work that way.
This is the thing. So we all speak to a lot of people every day, and
Mm.
I think I've found as I've got older, I've started to forget people's names. Period. But the problem is with industry, we actually need to remember like who's the person who does this in this geographical area who has immediate availability, and you need to be like that mini cab driver, you
You
know.
do. An encyclopedia, you need to retain this information. I mean, look, there's obviously heaps of different ways you can do it, but for me, it's like, you meet so many different people at all these different events. So I try to like get something a bit personal, like I, was able to do with you and have many chats and we can get to know each other, have those genuine relationships. Because otherwise,
What was the tag you attached to me then?
the tag, Mr. Purple.
Yes.
Mr. Purple. I
Did it
remember
look good?
I remember talking to you, obviously that first event that we went to, and it was you were talking about mistakeology and we really connected about that. And then Mr. Purple, and then it was just the next event. I was like, oh, and then we finally were able to have a one-to-one coffee. It ended up going for what, like nearly 2 hours or something like that. We had to cut it short because
Was.
it kept going. Yeah.
And it wasn't just because the cafe gave us oversized coffees. It was the
No, no.
conversation was good.
Definitely was. Yeah.
So anyway, listen, it's nice to get you on the show. It's it isn't just about you and I having a yarn.
Mm.
What's nice is this doesn't go anywhere. This doesn't go anywhere. This will be here as long as the internet exists, I guess. So people will come back and listen to our conversation, and who you really are, which is what I love about them. To be honest with you. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of people in the NDIS industry here in Australia that know you or know of you. But there's also people that listen to this worldwide. We've got audiences all over the place that I only just probably learn what the NDIS is off of other episodes as well. But for those that do know you, tell us a little bit about where you're from, pre-NDIS, pre-career, so people understand a bit about you that they don't already know.
So, I mean, my a snapshot of my story is, I come from a logistics background, so I used to work in logistics, organizing, freighting, and so on. That was a small portion of my life. I then went and did a degree in social work, social science. I've always been based on, just how my family and my dynamics has always been something about getting into community services for whatever that looked like. So my journey went from at one point in my life, I had a car accident, which is like 9 or 10 years ago now. And at that point, I went through a period of time. It was about a year of intense, just absolute change, like complete overhaul of everything that I knew. So then I took that experience and went into community services, studied, loved it, then ended up finding my way into the disability sector, where I was aiming and hoping to, help as much as possible. That was a simple and pure, and still to this day, I just want to help. I just want to do as much good as I possibly can, in whatever shape or form that takes, whether it be making someone's day by saying hello, or just recognizing them, or even, actually, which we're lucky to do, make some real change for individuals' lives as support coordinators, for example. So whatever that may be. So, I mean, to put it simply, that's me in a nutshell. I just went from, logistics and high organizational sort of spaces, and then, had my own particular experiences, and then tried to funnel that into something good.
That's commendable. I like it.
Mm.
Your friends outside of industry,
Yep.
outside of your career, if they were to describe you in 3 words,
I
what
think
would
I
it
only need
be?
one. Is loud. Um, no, I mean, passionate, um, energetic, and driven's probably they probably wouldn't describe me as driven. It'd probably be more annoying to them. But no, just that, that person who's always just got energy for stuff. Like, hey, let's do this. Yeah, let's do it. And I'll be the one to annoy them. All right, let's do it then. If that makes any sense. Yeah.
Yep, yep. So you're a pain in the backside for some people. There's a bit of hustle about you, which is good. So let's go into that hustle as there's 10-year-old Eggy. 10-year-old Eggy got a lot of hustle, got a lot of passion and drive. What did that 10-year-old want to be?
That 10-year-old wanted to be a soccer player, believe it or not.
Football, football, football.
Football. Oh, you know what? You're so right. I'm gonna get roasted. It is football. Yeah, I wanted to be a football player. Ever since I could walk. If anyone you ask me, and in my family, I had a football at my feet. I was actually quite good, but that's very vain and can't back it up right now. But I was decent enough. That was going to be my career path. Well, aim. Pre-car accident. So yeah, he wanted to be a footballer. But I'm a very different person to I was then in good and bad ways, but mostly good. I didn't have the same discipline as I did now. So all of those particular experiences you go through in life really shape and change and mold you. But 10-year-old Eggy, footballer for Manchester United, of course. Manchester United. Yeah, we know. I had to get it in there.
Hey, listen, I've got no comeback. Every weekend I'm getting depressed. I've already written the season off like I did last
Yeah,
season.
I
If
think
we
I
stay
have
up,
to.
it's a bonus. So my poor son, who I've indoctrinated into my team, yeah, it's probably up there with child abuse or something. What I've done to him. But so be it. Anyway, all right. So we fast forward, and so logistics. You're doing what you're doing, and you've got a flavour to your personality, which means you like to help. Given the opportunity to help, that's where your cape comes on, and you're happy to do what you're doing. So you're probably working a bit of flow state now. So you're in the NDIS. What is it? Well, okay, let's go into what it is you do in the NDIS for those that don't know.
So, for those that are familiar with NDIS, we're support coordinators, which essentially we're the in between, between the person or the participant or the person with the disability or the decision maker, and we're the in between for them to the NDIS or for them and their services. So we're, on a little bit of that social work side kind of comes in to some extent, and we're just trying to really help that person access their NDIS plan as best as possible, navigate their life. A lot of people, I guess, tend to think it's just the organizing services. It's obviously, in from our perspective, a whole lot more than that. When you're working with different people, different families, different situations, you have this idea of problem solving with them. Let's think this is why, I guess, from our conversations, we've been able to resonate quite a lot. We're really going in there to try and help them sometimes figure out what they want, sometimes figure out what they need, sometimes figure out both, and then really trying to help them map out how to get there. And in some cases, having to be the people that sometimes say, uh, you may not be able to get that, based on the current rules and regulations and all those sort of things. So we're really like a little bit of a guide. I like to explain it to people in three different ways. One is like kind of admin role duties where we're trying to take that burden away from families so they can just be families in some cases, really linking them to services, making sure that sort of stuff runs smoothly. I like to say we're almost like the mortgage brokers of the NDIS world, where they come to us and they go, hey, I need this. And we go, fine, let me go and find you a service. So we go and find what fits and what works best for that person. And then the last one is just a guide. So we're there to support families in improving their ability in understanding the NDIS, in understanding what they can and can't do, and hopefully at some point give the responsibility or the information back to them so that they can make their own choices. Because we're not supposed to be, well, we were never designed to be around forever. We were designed to be there to help that person understand the NDIS enough to navigate it on their own. Which in some cases that you can get to there, but not always.
So it's designed to have a shelf life. In your opinion, then, what makes a good or a great support coordinator?
You know, it's honestly, it's quite simple. I mean, someone who's willing to be honest, be available and communicative, and just be genuinely open to understanding that person's position and where they're trying to get to. I think a lot of people would assume that we need to know everything about every diagnosis or everything about every situation. In my experience, it's not that. In my experience, it's someone who's willing to sit down, truly understand what that person is saying, not just them, but their support team around them, and be able to kind of put it all together. So you may have a participant that wants something that it may not be possible. And then your job is to understand why and what they want and see what options there are available for them that may be 50, 20, 30, 100% of the way there, depending on what they're asking. So just that openness, the communication, the genuine nature about trying to help, that is what makes a good support coordinator. I mean, if you ask any participant out there that's had a negative experience, it's because, oh, I haven't been able to get in contact. I haven't been able to, and you need to be really available.
All right, so it's very human centric, which is going to have its pros and cons.
Mhm.
With that in mind, what are your biggest pet peeves?
About support coordinators in general.
Maybe about your sort of like your day to day, I suppose.
Um, at the moment, I think it's a tricky question, and a great question. I think because the NDIS is changing so fast, as support coordinators, we are having to navigate information that may or may not be correct, if that makes sense. So, and the tricky part about this conversation is there is a reason why it's like that. So I preface this by saying, and specifically talking about the NDIS in general in this context, but any business it applies to, if you grew within the space of time that the NDIS is available in Australia from zero to in 9 years, you go from zero participants to 740,000 with all the staff. There are going to be operational challenges. There's going to be learning challenges and I know from our experience and, trying to sustain staff, make it, all of those things, they're complex. So oftentimes when we're working as support coordinators, not everyone has a solid understanding of the NDIS, which is completely fine. But we're in that transitional phase at the moment as an industry, where we've had lots of change, there's lots of information, and us as support coordinators, even ourselves, trying to keep up with all of the information because everything changes quite often. So that is the most, I guess, challenging part of, if you ask any support coordinator, is navigating all of those bits and pieces of information and still trying to stay relevant and accurate. Because what you said to yesterday may not no longer be the case, and then you're working with a participant and they go, "Oh, but this person said this," and we're like, "Yes, that used to be true, but now it's not." And they go, "Why? That doesn't make any sense." And sometimes you agree with them, but that's the rules, if that makes sense. So that side.
So that probably is a nice segue part into where I was thinking of for my next question. If you could wave that magic wand, look at it, and a nice little NDIS, my ADHD pen, purple hair, purple hair. I'm just jealous. If you could wave that magic wand and yeah, because you're in a privileged position, you sit between participants, the families, the providers, in challenging times and rewarding times in equal measure for sure. And you got this whole myriad of conversation and experience. If you could wave a magic wand in the macro sense, just say, right, listen, bang, this is what I know, and if I could change one thing for the better of everybody involved, what would that be?
So it's a complicated question, really. It is, but for me, there's a whole myriad of things that you would need to do. But I think it's just, to be honest, at the moment, I think time is what is needed. But time is the thing that we don't have. To be completely honest, now, I think right now, um, information is what is lacking. So, and the information, what I mean by information is the understanding of what is required to provide services, in some cases isn't available for the NDS to understand, and vice versa in our end. So in our end, we're not quite understanding what is happening on their level. So if I could change anything, and let's just say fast forward 5 or 10 years, is that that piece of information sharing has gotten to a level where we are on the same page. I think that is what's realistically missing at the moment within the industry, because everyone is on a different page. Now, whether you can or can't do that, because things change, there's different opinions. For me, that is what's causing a lot of the extended timeframes, the confusion, is that piece of clarifying and having some simple guidelines and rules. Okay, this is what we do, this is what we can do, off we go, which I think is we're moving towards. It's a great answer, but it's a difficult one truly, because like I said, when you're rolling out anything, um, and we've experienced it, is when you're trying to communicate rules and so on as you're expanding a business or organization, it takes time for that to flow down. So those systems will strengthen over time. But information and clarity of information would be one thing that if we could solve, would solve a lot of problems. But yeah, doing that would be difficult though.
It sounds like there's a lot of frustration around some uncertainties and the unknowns and the known unknowns, if you like. I think you're quite right. There's always change. With organisations like the size of the NDIS, government organisations, change that is a constant, okay? But I think it's the volume of change right now because they're quite significant, and there's lots of them, and there's lots of speculation, and it impacts people's lives significantly. And that falls back onto people like yourself that are frontline, having these difficult conversations, as you said, you sometimes need to do, and you just can't direct one way or the other. And it'd be nice probably for that to settle down a little bit, but it's a catch-22 because the NDIS itself, it needs time to calibrate. It needs time to get through government, to get into process, to get into layman's terms, But the support that's needed, well, it's constant. It's here. That can't wait.
No, and I think sustainability is always going to be the word that should be used when it comes to NDIS in all aspects of the word. So it's not just about one side or the other side. It's a holistic, sustainable environment that needs to be created. And that's a long-term vision. It's not a short-term vision. And making rapid changes doesn't always lead to that. So I think I'm I'm a little bit of an optimist, but I think we are heading towards that. It's just going to take time in terms of transition. We're all going to have to, all of us, including the NDIS, including providers and including participants, come make changes in how we view the NDIS and how it's going to be used and that sort of thing. Because I think again that idea of differing information everywhere is apparent, but you need time. Like for example, you can't just roll something out without having information, but it takes time to get that information to then roll it out appropriately. Or where I see a lot of the impact happening with rapid changes is those people in more complex or high intensity needs, that they're the ones who tend to be, unfortunately, the ones that have obviously a higher level of risk, but then that's the greatest level of impact. So when, for example, funding periods come in, love it, great idea, it solves one amazing major thing that was going on in the industry. But I guess the rollout and could have taken a different approach. That's my opinion though, but that's just me. I also don't work in the NDS to know what other major things were going on to say why we did that. But yeah, I agree with you. You made a great point. Time is the key, but sometimes those families don't have time, unfortunately.
What's your thoughts on so there's a lot of people in Australia, for example, that are outside of the NDS, and they see the NDS a lot in the media. It's on the news a lot. It's on the tip of people's tongues. Things when they reach the media, it tends to be there for the wrong reasons. Okay, so they highlight a shoddy operated, generally speaking, which when you watch it, it is never good watching. Okay, what's your experience of this and thoughts on that? Do you think it's a true reflection?
No, look, holistically, and this is just a holistic view, is no. I think obviously there's a place to highlight situations that are not going well. I mean, that's the point. Um, but I think holistically, and again, I am an optimist, but I see a lot of good and a lot of good stories and positive things in the NDIS. So, of course, with anything, you're going to have people who do amazing work, people who are still learning, and then people who are there for the wrong intentions, right? The tricky part is determining who actually is not doing the right thing, right? Because ultimately speaking, not everything that makes the media is always a 100% accurate, because also the people reporting, how much do they actually understand what is actually happening for those businesses? Have you worked in the business? Do you understand what is right or wrong? A lot of those factors come in. So for me though, overall and holistically, there is actually a lot of good that happens. There's amazing people in this industry that just genuinely want to make real change, like irrespective of anything. They provide amazing services. They really want to help. And not, I've been lucky enough to be privy to some of those relationships along my time, and you get real participants getting real outcomes who, one family that I've been working with, they were going through such a bad time that, we just met this person, was living with his family at home in a 3-4 bedroom house, and he had a wheelchair, spinal injury, that sort of thing. He's now living on his own independently. So there are those good news stories, but they tend to not always make. Do you know what I'm saying? So there needs to be a healthy balance, I think, out there. But I think, just historically, I don't know about what you think, Tom, but those more, I guess, negative stories tend to be the ones that are more highlighted. Like, for example, it's the people don't always give the praise, but when something goes wrong, it's the louder sort of space. So I'd love to see more of those good news stories and people sharing what is actually going on in the industry, and those providers that are spending all that time putting in so much effort, and even people like yourself who go out there and, willing to work with people, and people who want to. I saw a lot of people work with you who want to be better. They're investing time and all this energy and in resources into being better. Like, but they don't tend to always just say, "Look at me, look at me." They're just doing it. So
It's interesting, and it is. I think I've observed the same thing, and I think it's just in life in general. Is that sometimes those that do the best work do so in silence, and it's just you just want to put the spotlight on them. Hey, come on, let's put them on a pedestal. But that's part of the reason this podcast exists. To be honest with you, if I thought you was a cowboy, you probably wouldn't be on here. To
thank
be
you, I
honest with you,
appreciate that.
the thing is, I think I started off an optimist. I think I've downgraded to a realist over time. I think it went with my hairline, hand in hand. Um, but a realist is fine because I think you can just see things as they are. Because um, we can't cross over some of the shoddy operators, and the problem is if you're not a great operator in the NDIS, you're taking advantage of the most vulnerable. And in football terms, that's a 6-pointer. Okay, that's just not very nice, and it just doesn't sit well with me. I just feel like I want to go and shake those people, and I see them fairly often, too often. Okay,
Yeah.
but they are disproportionate. So there's proportionate wise. There's a load of really good operators and some bad operators. Whereas with news, there's a load of bad operators and very few good operators. They've just got it the wrong way round. You know.
Well, it's like anything. I think, you know, um, those more negative stories tend to have a little bit, like, they're louder, they're more dramatic, and I think sometimes the good providers are just the small things. It's just those little things that they're doing really well every day, and they're not really necessarily yelling out there. But it's true. That's where I go back to that idea. Like, I think, when you're talking, I guess, specifically about some of the changes that have been made, and all the a lot of the changes, I'm not even like, they're good changes. Like, they're changes that are needed for the industry to protect those people that are, unfortunately may have had a bad experience. It's just that balance of getting it right. You know what I mean? Like, so both sides are saying are technically correct. So there are bad things that are happening that need to be highlighted. And in some cases, people need to know. Um, but also a hell of a lot of good things that are going out there. I just think what's important for me, especially when it comes to media and, those sort of things, is that we're reporting on on you know factual, real stuff. And then I'd love to see some of those good news stories put out there, because I mean, there's so much good going on that we often forget about it. Like, it's not out there. Unfortunately, there's some amazing programs and projects.
Maybe there's something for you and I to work on, Mr. Eggy. We
I'd
can go
love
and
to do
lance
that,
out
man.
some good news stories, and we could push it out to media, or push it out to the world so people can hear
That'd be
about them. And
amazing. Yeah,
we'll put,
highlight those people that are doing some real good in this industry, because I guess like they said, it's a difficult space to work in. There's a lot to learn. People, um, kind of need to be obsessed, um, and really passionate about working in this space, because it's always changing. There's always something going on. And you need to be a certain type of person. But those people are doing real good, and I'd love to share their stories as much as possible. So definitely something I'm happy to do with you.
before we wrap up then, a couple of little bits then. What's in the pipeline for you, Mr. Eggy? What have you got? Any announcements, projects, something we should keep an eye out
Um,
ourselves?
So, in terms of projects, there's one big one that, excitedly, you're a part of. So we have, well, Ability Connect and myself I've co-founded a networking group, we'll call it, where we're bringing together people who have genuine passion to make the industry better. So the idea of the group is to support, um, you know, any organization, any person in any organization, from a number of ways, whether it be someone like yourself coming out to really help them, and they can lean on your skill set to help them navigate their next steps, or whatever the case may be. Or, maybe we've done talks on, specific industry updates and changes where we've all come together as a collective community to talk about some of the barriers we've got, and then, kind of talk through collectively some strategies. So I guess it's just a group of people who genuinely want to help. So we were running those each month, which, again, super excited to have you a part of. So thank you for that. And I'm sure we've got some ideas cooking for some future ones, which everyone can keep their eye out for. But that's pretty much, I mean, everything else for us. We've been doing support coordination for nearly 9 years now. We have, 20 full-time staff. We're here and ready to help. We've been volunteering our time, with different charitable bodies to just help as many people as we can. So we're going to continue doing all of that, um, and continue to help the community as best as we can, pretty much.
So anybody listening to this, they like what you're saying and they want to reach out, predominantly on the support coordination side of things. What would be the best route for them to make contact?
So we do have a contact us function if it is specifically in relation to support coordination. We have a contact us function on our page that gets sent to me and all of the leaders in our organization. It's real easy. A couple questions, you send it through and say, "Hey, I need a chat." One of us will call you. If anyone's open to getting involved, in this network, just reach out to me directly, Emanuel at abilityconnect.com.au, and we can have a chat.
Change your email to Eggy. You got
I
to.
know, man. I swear, you're getting me thinking. Every time I talk to you, I learn something. So it's literally, I should probably do it. Everyone knows that. You know what? I laugh every single time I smile. And it's funny you said that when we did the intro. You said, "See, Eggy, see how you change?" Because people email me or they message me and they go, "Hey, Eggy." I'm like, "Ah, that's cool."
That's it. It works wonders. Easy to remember, and it's easy to set up an alias. So I'm going to test this email at the end of the week and see if it bounces.
Oh, I love it.
All right, mate. Well, listen, thanks a lot for your time. Been lovely chatting, and I'll speak to you in person soon.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
Hello again, it is I am Mr. Purple. Thanks again for watching this video. If you like my videos, if you like what we try to do here, please subscribe if you haven't done it already. The other thing that's very popular right now is the t-shirts, the Mr. Purple t-shirts. There's lots of people wearing these at the moment. You can grab yours on our website, copying this link below. So once again, thanks for listening. We love your feedback. Engage with us and speak soon.